Chancellor Philip Hammond is due to unveil his first fully fledged budget. Here with me to discuss what to expect is Janan Ganesh, our chief political commentator. Janan, this is a big move and a big stage for Mr. Hammond.
Yep, his first budget. Circumstances seem to be a bit better than he was expecting in the autumn statement in November. The British economy has performed reasonably well since the Brexit referendum. And as a result, it's likely that he'll announce he's got quite a bit more money to play with than he had previously assumed. What we won't see, I think, is a spectacular use of that money. No big tax cuts, if anything, a tax rise on self-employed people. No big spending splurge, apart from maybe on health and social care, which are problematic areas right now. What he's going to do with that money is build up a contingency fund. So if Brexit does turn out to be economically difficult, and a cyclical recession anyway is due at some stage in the next few years, this country goes into it with a bit of a buffer.
Yeah, Brexit war chest. But let me just come back to something very interesting you alluded to there, which is a tax on the self-employed. I thought that this was a government in favour of the strivers.
This is probably the seventh government in a row which has talked a good game about being in favour of the strivers, people who go out there and work, maybe off their own bat. But there's this view in the Treasury that if you're going to find money anywhere, it's in the self-employed sector. A lot of people who set up private limited companies, maybe in the government's view, are being undertaxed relative to their earnings, and they think they can squeeze a bit of money. It won't be a swinging policy.
But no question of people abusing this?
The view is that some people are setting up private limited companies when really, under the strict letter of the law, they shouldn't be.
You're not referring to employees of the BBC, are you?
Or maybe the entire journalistic community, I don't know. But it's an area where they think they can get a bit of money.
And the other interesting area is the digital economy. There were some signals from number 11 Downing Street, that's where the Chancellor resides, that he thinks that the balance between manufacturing and digital is obviously changing, and also that too much emphasis on corporate taxation levels. There's actually, the digital economy is undertaxed.
Yeah, and the view is that the UK has an even bigger digital economy than is officially held to be true. That this is one of the most digitized economies in the world, but a lot of it is uncaptured by government statistics and therefore undertaxed. It's difficult, however, to do that, to get more money out of that sector of the economy, and at the same time maintain the rhetoric about being open for business, and in particular being open to dynamic, service-oriented, high-tech.
So if I work for Google, or I'm running Google or Facebook, should I be worried?
I'm amazed they're not worried about the fact that in 2 years' time there's a good chance of losing access to a 500 million strong European market, but that doesn't seem to be killing business confidence, even tech-specific confidence so far. But the tax and other regulatory policies that the government is talking about might be a bit more worrying than that.
Let's switch to the spending side. There's a lot of strain on the National Health Service. In particular, two words we're likely to hear a lot of is social care. There's lots of strain there.
Yeah.
What do you think the Chancellor will do?
There is an idea which has been mooted for quite a while now of essentially something like an inheritance tax specifically hypothecated to social care. So as people get older and the costs of their care build, some of that can be funded by themselves paying taxes once they die on their estate. Philip Hammond and other Conservatives are pretty nervous about this because it goes against the whole ideological grain of the party, which has always been almost fanatically opposed to death duties of any kind, beyond the point of reasonableness, I would say. And so they're caught between the absolute financial necessity to fund an underfunded service, which is only going to get more expensive as the population ages, and on the other hand, the intellectual and ideological nervousness to go ahead with that kind of tax increase.
Let's talk about Philip Hammond, the politician. How does he differ from George Osborne, the Chancellor, who was in power for 6+ years and always produced several rabbits out of his hat during his budgets?
He's much more circumspect than George Osborne. I think George Osborne liked these big occasions, whereas Philip Hammond has already got rid of one, the autumn statement. Much less likely to define himself with a big worldview in the way George Osborne almost embraced austerity as the idea that defined his chancellorship. So circumspect, doesn't raise his voice very much, but incredibly attentive to detail. And he's in a curious political position because he was a Remainer. He was actually a very persuaded Remainer, thought it was a bad idea to leave the European Union. And he now has to find a way of operating as the second most powerful person in a government which is not only pro-Brexit, but really pro quite a hard Brexit. And so he could end up being the pivotal voice within the cabinet.
We look forward to what the bookkeeper-in-chief will unveil in his first fully fledged budget. Janan, thank you so much.
Thank you.